But here, on the very rim of known space, justice is a long way away.
Hello, my friends, and welcome to the Space Game Junkie Podcast. Sorry for the slight delay in getting started. I have a little bit of a technical issue there. I always is your co-host, Brian. I can talk today. Joining us, as always, is your co-host, Spaz.
Catching the last train home.
Oh, how is that? Are you going to talk about that today?
It's good.
All right, we can talk about that. Also joining us is your co-host, Julie.
Hello from the great colder north.
Yeah. It's winter. Is it winter now? Is it officially winter or is it still autumn? I don't remember.
I don't know if it's official, but Mother Earth said it's winter.
Also joining us is your co-host, Thorsten.
Winter is coming.
Sure is. Your co-host, Jacob.
Why are we still here? Just to suffer?
It feels pretty apt. And your co-host, David.
I fetch rocks.
So hello, everyone. Happy Wednesday. It is near the end of the year, and little inside baseball. We've been bouncing topics around for weeks now, and we just can't settle on one. Like, we keep throwing topics out there, and they're all good topics. You know, there's not a bad one among the bunch. But I will tell you all what. It is tough to pick one right now, because I think, at least me, I'm suffering from a bit of burnout myself. And so I was like, why don't we just do a check-in? We haven't done a check-in in a while. And what I mean by that is just a loosey-goosey discussion about how we're doing, what we're playing, that kind of thing. Just to check in with ourselves and each other. And Thorsten, I had forgotten about this. Apologies, Thorsten. Recommended we do this every so often. And I completely forgot about that. So yeah, every now and again, within every 1 or 2 months, we'll do a check-in. We haven't done one in quite a while, come to think of it. So I couldn't think of what to have going in the background, and so Dave was like, "Why not Inquisitor?" And I'm like, "That's probably perfect, because Inquisitor is the one game I don't really have to think too hard about." Like, it's really the game I have to think about the least as I play it. But on the topic of burnout, I've been a little burnt out of Inquisitor lately, so this will be a nice chance to revisit, because it's been maybe about a month since I actually played it. I've been playing other things lately. So I don't want to do a roundtable thing, because that just seems a little too formal. So why don't everyone just chime in with how you're doing and what's going on in your life that you'd like to talk about. No particular order, just whoever wants to talk first, go ahead. Or I can go first, I guess, to keep it easy. I've been burnt out lately. Not due to any one particular thing. You know, like, I'm not burnt out of Space Game Junkie or anything, or work or anything. I'm just burnt out. And Spaz brought up before the show that that's a thing around the holidays, is burnout. And I'm definitely feeling it. I mean, I think it's just a combination of the weight of the previous year and that's about to end, and, you know, just all the feelings and stress and pressure of the holidays. And it's just a bunch of things. And I've just been feeling really burnt out lately. And so I've been playing a few games that have been really good for burnout. I just finished, I didn't finish, but I finished my second run of Cyberpunk 2077. I basically finished Phantom Liberty, which was amazing. If you guys haven't played Cyberpunk 2077, it's a great game in its own right. But I was legit sad for a week after I finished Phantom Liberty. It's like, oh, that's it? Oh. I was legitimately sad after finishing Phantom Liberty. It's very good, you guys, especially if you like spy stuff. Very, very good. And that's a comfort game for me because I don't know what you call it, but there are a few games where you can feel like a badass relatively quickly. And that's one of them for me. Like, I don't know if you call it the badass curve or what, but like Inquisitor is another one where it doesn't take long. Yeah, I guess the power fantasy where it doesn't take long to really feel like you can just whomp just about anything in front of you. And it doesn't take long for that in
also in Cyberpunk, it does actually make you feel more powerful than when you started.
Yes.
Which normally might not actually happen in RPGs. A lot of RPGs kind of just get slightly better at what you've been doing from minute one.
Yes.
Mostly because you don't really get a lot in the way of abilities. You know, in Cyberpunk, you can unlock perks in Cyberware to double jump and dash in midair and do all sorts of silly stuff.
Right.
And let's say in Skyrim, you can throw fireballs better.
Right.
Sometimes.
But you're right. With Cyberpunk, the tools you get and the guns you get and the skills you improve upon in just how you play make you feel legitimately superior, as you go. Like, you feel very different from the beginning of the game versus the end of the game. I think you're absolutely right in that regard. So yeah, like with my recent run of Cyberpunk, I not only finished Phantom Liberty, I cleared every police call out on the map, which took a while because there are a lot of them. But that's what I enjoyed most this time. Like, I'm going to save the city from crime. And so I did every...
By murdering half the population.
You know what? If that's what it takes, I mean, people complain, why aren't there a lot of people in Night City? Well, because a lot of them are murdered. Plus, it's a dystopian, futuristic, capitalistic hellscape, which a lot of people probably don't survive anyway. So, there
are no happy endings in Night City.
There really aren't. But,
I get the feeling that Cyberpunk's message is a bit overlooked because a decent chunk of this message seems to just be California sucks.
I can't agree with that, but
fair enough.
But I think
the whole cyberpunk genre is a satire of a corporate hellscape.
Yeah,
that's the whole reason the genre exists.
And for some reason, it's usually California.
That's more a Hollywood thing. I'd say.
Right.
That it happens to be set in California, typically. But you could look at other dystopian hellscapes. The Expanse has that going. Where it's not just the West Coast. Most of the planet's flooded. It's that sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah,
Shadowrun. It's primarily in northwest U.S. So around Seattle and Portland.
It's fascinating how some dystopian hellscapes can make California look. There's an amazing book that came out in the 80s called War Day, which talks about a very limited and accidental nuclear exchange between America and Russia. It was a complete accident. And New York was bombed, as was certain places like San Antonio. But California was untouched. So California is now the British-backed head of America. And when the characters go there, it's like, oh my God. This is like pre-war crap. It's really interesting how California can be depicted in futuristic hellscapes. But so yeah, Cyberpunk was amazing. I'm probably going to restart it in 6 months to a year with a throwing knife build. because my God, throwing knives are just astounding in that game.
Also, yes, huge points for playability, both in gameplay and in story content.
Yeah,
Yep.
like, I mean, the only reason I stopped is because I knew what quests were coming, and they were kind of like, because not every quest in the game is great, you know? And the quests I had left were kind of like the mid-tier, like, oh, I don't care about what's her name's, her racing thing with her dead husband. I don't really care about that, you know? Like, there were some quests that are like, I don't need to revisit this. So that's where I decided to stop. But again, Phantom Liberty is great. Lots of great quests there. Idris Elba, astounding, as always. Can't really go wrong. Almost worth it for the song that plays at the end credits, because they made it like a Bond opening. And it's like amazing. Like, it's almost worth playing through just for those end credits. But yeah, and then I decided, like, what's another kind of game where I don't have to think too hard about and can feel pretty powerful? And I started playing Diablo again, because apparently in this current season of Diablo 4, they've made the characters pretty powerful. And I've
heard a lot of conflicting things about Diablo 4. How is it actually?
It doesn't unseat Inquisitor as my favorite ARPG, but for what it's trying to do with mixing the dynamic of a busy overworld from like an MMO with more varied mechanics, because Diablo 3, like, the mechanics were kind of boring, because you were kind of like, it was a very linear skill tree and you didn't have a lot of variety. But with the new one, you have a lot more variety. And I'm finding with the right build, it's very violent and fun. So I'm enjoying it. I would say it's worth it on sale if you can deal with the taint of supporting Activision Blizzard. I'd say it's worth it on sale. Just don't expect too much of it, but you're basically getting the MMO version of an ARPG for good and ill. Like, there's a lot to do. But it's one of these always online things, you know. So I really like it. It's fun to just load up and run a dungeon, run through some mobs, and get some new toys, and which is basically what you want with an ARPG. Is you want to run through some stuff and kill some stuff and get some stuff, and it does that pretty well. The only, like, I just like Inquisitor more because I like its mission structure more. And I think Inquisitor does violence better than Diablo, I think. Diablo does violence pretty well, but nothing beats the flaming murder puddles for me of Inquisitor. So yeah, it doesn't unseat Inquisitor, but it's quite fun. I'm enjoying it. They have fixed a lot of the problems that, like, because when at launch it got kind of boring and kind of samey. And apparently season 1 wasn't very good, but I'm playing in season, I guess it's the second season now, and I'm enjoying it quite a bit. I could recommend it on sale if you're looking for kind of, because it's got this overworld with stuff on the map, so it's kind of like, oh, what if they made Guild Wars or an Ubi game into like an ARPG, and it kind of works, you know. So I'm enjoying it for what it is. You know, if you're looking for more of a Diablo 2 style feeling, you're not going to get it. But it's got a good story, and then once you finish the story, you could skip it forever, which is nice, because you only have to do it once if you want to. But it's a good story with good voice acting. I'm enjoying. I mean, it's got fun voice acting. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's miles better than the Diablo 3 story, but that's not saying much. Because the story in Diablo 3 was written by a 11-year-old.
Worst parent ever.
Oh my God, such a terrible story. Oh,
I'm not familiar with the details.
Diablo 3 had fun gameplay, even with the limited skill trees, because the skill trees were pretty linear. But the story was just like, this is horrendous. What are y'all doing? You're supposed to be better than this, Blizzard. You did the Warcraft games. I mean, come on. But
Okay, Brian, if I may jump in.
Sure.
Do you still see like other people running around in Diablo 4 or something like that?
You do, but you don't have to do anything with them. I mean, you can just like, there might as well be another NPC for all you know. You don't have to interact with them at all if you don't want to, which is nice.
I'm just interested in hearing that. So
yeah, that's like, I think any good MMO style game will allow that. I think like Lord of the Rings Online is very good at that. For example, like you don't have to talk to another person. I think I might have seen one dungeon that encouraged a group, maybe. But for the most part, you can do just about everything solo, which I'm fine with because I don't really want to talk to other people. So yeah, even though it's mostly an MMO style thing, it's always online, blah, blah, blah. It's kind of got this MMO kind of like there are people with exclamation points over their heads, kind of thing going. I mean, it's Blizzard, but yeah, you don't have to talk to other people at all. You'll see them and be like, oh, look, another person, yay! Like I said, it might as well be an NPC for all you know, so it doesn't really matter. So yeah, I mean, you're not going to even notice other people after a while. Like sometimes, the only time you'll really notice them is if you're doing a world event, and it's like, oh wait, other mobs are dying more quickly because there are other people here. Okay, but most of the time, like you're just by yourself, which is fine. Which I'm fine with. So yeah. So on my end, a bit of burnout, bit of tired. I'm looking forward to the holidays being over. My wife loves the holidays. I'm not the biggest fan. It's just like, okay, it's not the most wonderful time of the year. Whatever. I don't get it.
They're just another day to me, personally.
Yeah, like the only reason I'm even a little bit swept up in it is because my wife is so huge into it. Her and her family love the holidays, and that's fine. That's their thing. So you kind of get swept up in it because you're with someone who's like we have the tree up and we've got boxes of ornaments to put out and blah, blah, blah. If it was just me, I'd be like, no.
Can't be bothered.
Yeah, I just like whatever. But the thing I do like about this holiday season are the terrible Hallmark movies. So that is the best thing about the season for me is the terrible, terrible Hallmark movies.
200 movies, same couple dozen actors.
That is not inaccurate. It's almost like the British It's almost like the British mystery of Christmas movies because it's always like, oh, that guy, that girl. Almost always the same fucking people, but and it's always so dumb. It's always so dumb, and some of them are purposely dumb, and some of them are like we saw the other day. I know I'm talking a lot. I'll let someone else talk in a minute. We saw what has been arguably called the worst Hallmark Christmas movie ever, called A Christmas Wedding Tale, TAIL, because it's got 2 talking dogs in it. Well, the dogs like talk to each other. They don't talk to the humans, but it's like, wow, this is terrible. But it's good with alcohol, so it works out.
With enough alcohol.
Yeah, you definitely need wine with these. You're not watching these entirely sober. Ever. So that's my thing about the holidays is I like the cheesy movies. But that's really it. So, I mean, I've been playing Diablo, been playing some Inquisitor now. Because Inquisitor is kind of brain candy for me. Like I can really shut down and not think too hard. And get some satisfying murder out of it. Which is nice. As long as you're not playing 80 levels above you can get some nice murder out of it. Yeah, so that's what's going on with me. What about you guys? How you all doing?
I got something I was stressed out about.
Go for it.
I was almost quit writing because of it at first. I
What?
was warned. I almost quit writing. I was warned about how tough and unreasonable some editors can be. Excuse me. The other day, the group I'm writing for, Blue Genie Media, has spelled with a J, by the way, in case I've had people say, hey, I've never heard of it. I say, you're spelling it wrong. But there were two editors to deal with, and I hadn't worked out an arrangement with one editor, and the teacher / co-owner of the company, post-publishing it / publicist, said, okay, well, how about if this other editor does some beta reading? And I said, well, okay, I don't know the person from Adam, right? And she wants, and after she gets 40% for the book, she wants an introduction. And I said, why? She's just, I don't know this person from Adam. She's a name on a piece of paper. I don't even know what country she's in. And it doesn't matter as long as she edits the book. And this person who's a publicist said, well, I told her and this whole long string of things about my life. And I said, none of these are true. Like, for example, she said, I told you were semi-retired. I said, I'm not semi-retired. I work full-time plus. And so she will just play along with it. And she said, well, I also didn't tell her you're, and she starts tap dancing around the T in the LBGT. And I said, okay, look, you can say the word, but I'll just say I'm not a Republican. And she's shut up about it. But this person sends this long-winded introduction, and which is unnecessary. And I didn't want to play along with this long string of things that basically it turns out she was extremely conservative and wanted to appease her. And in the unlikely event that she's listening to this podcast, you're fired. And she said, well, you can fire her. I said, she's not my editor. You want me to fire your editor? And then she said, only insofar as share her work with your book. And I said, okay, I recommend you work with the editor. I said, okay. So she sends me this long-winded diatribe, and she said, well, what's your market? I said, look, I'm not writing this to make money. I've made some money writing before, but if I had to depend on that money, I'd be living in a box underneath the Michigan Street Bridge in Chicago. And I said, this is something to keep me from going insane when I do, or insane-er when I do retire. And so it goes on in that vein for a while, and she says, well, she writes back, she says, I feel your book should be young adult. And I said, what? I said, there's 3 murders by the second chapter. One person is choked to death. And there's a string of murders throughout this detective book, sci-fi detective novel. And she says, well, I think it should be young adult. And so I said, obviously, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I was just going to quit and burn all the copies of my books and delete everything. And then I said, well, I can't delete the copy that the U.S. Copyright Office has. And so my publicist comes back with, I have her editing the rewrite of my first book, which was Skinwalker. She's part Cherokee and based on Cherokee mythology. And she said, in one of my chapters, I said, I've never read the book. She says there is a ritual murder. It's a horror novel where somebody is burnt at the stake, skinned, and their skin turned into a grimoire. And she said she still thought my book should be young adult and it wasn't horrifying enough. I said, oh my God, I withdraw everything I said. She's fired. So that was but on the other hand, there was something else, but what the other thing is stressful in my life, but I don't want to talk about it. But what I do want to talk about is something good. Is my boss calls me up the other day and she says, well, you may have to forego your bonus for this, but I can recommend you, and the whole management staff wants to. We want to recommend you for a step increase based on your outstanding job performance. And I said, she said, you have to compete for it. I said, but we're recommending you. And I said, I was dumbfounded, and she said, you got an hour and a half to think about it, then we're going to move on to the next person. And I said, or management, upper level management, and I thought to myself about everything I've been through over the years that has given me PTSD, including one person 31 years ago, I think it was 1991, who yelled down the hallway, I'm not using the bathroom with that thing. And another employer who not only tried to get rid of me, right, she gave me charge of every nursing home in the 3-state region, didn't think I'd be able to handle it. And I ran into her at one of my friend's retirement party, and she didn't expect me still to be there. And she stumbled around for a while. She said, how you doing? I said, I'm doing great. I got a short story coming out in anthology. My first book comes out next year. She said, oh, what's the title of it? And I told her the title. I said, you thought I was making it up, didn't you? And so what a change. Things change for the better sometimes, and they certainly have. And also, I've been playing Telltale Batman because I've always been a Marvel fan, but this was on sale. And I thought, I want to see how this measures up to all my other favorite Batmans. My favorite Joker is Heath Ledger. My second favorite Joker is Mark Hamill. And it was really well written, and I'm not done with it yet. And then Fran gave me a choice. Do we watch the next Batman movie that Christian Bale did, or watch the new one with Mr. Pattinson,
Pattinson, I believe.
Pattinson. And
so.
Well, I voiced my opinions on the
I just don't see how you could see he's worse than Clooney or Kilmer.
It's just he's worse than this little dog I've seen that everybody has their own preferences.
I'm honest. I'm going to be honest. I don't think it's been. I don't think you've seen the Clooney one recent enough to remember just how bad it was. I'm gonna.
Oh, absolutely. But seeing as one reviewer kind of hit the nail on the head, and so did one of the members of our community, and basically he said he played this in basically no range of emotion, and the Batman part was fine. It was when he played the Bruce Wayne role that was just really, really lacking. And I thought, you've got someone of the role of a caliber of Anthony Serkis, and I said, you cast him as the butler? Seriously? But who bowled me over was the guy they had playing, not the Penguin. Oh my God, what was the name of the other?
The guy who played the Penguin was Colin
Farrell.
And he played. Sorry,
Alex, are you kidding me? That's Colin Farrell.
Yeah, he was. He was the Penguin, though, wasn't he?
He was just amazing. Yeah, he was the Penguin.
Yeah,
and
he was amazing.
He was just astounding. I had no idea who it was. He was just Anthony Serkis good. I just was astounding how well he did. So that's my 2 bits, for better or for worse.
All right. Who wants to go next?
I guess I could go next.
All right.
I've been bouncing between a lot of games. Yeah, it's a pretty big list, but I'll narrow it down a bit. Like a Dragon Gaiden, The Man Who Erased His Name, which is for those who don't know, takes place between Yakuza 6 and concurrently with the events of the Judgment spin-off games and Yakuza Like a Dragon. And it leads up to the events of Infinite Wealth, which is the next Like a Dragon game.
Yeah, it's the next Itchy game.
That is going to be... Yes, well, it's going to feature both Ichiban and Kiryu as protagonists. That's the... That's part of the hook to it, is that this is no, Gaiden basically means side story.
Oh.
And this was originally going to just be a side story. But what they ended up doing was taking everything that happened before in Kiryu's saga of the franchise and then making that concurrent with what's leading forward. So there are cameos from certain characters from the Judgment games as well in this, which is awesome because you weren't expecting it unless you do beforehand. There's also what happens leading up to his appearance, Kiryu's appearance in Yakuza Like a Dragon. So it's concurrent with all of that.
Wow.
Yeah.
And
And
really, like, I can't imagine what their whiteboard looks like to keep all this straight.
well, the beginning of it, without going into spoilers, of course, sums up the events at the end of Yakuza 6.
Right.
And then a couple of years later, that's when Yakuza 7 happens, Yakuza Like a Dragon, and...
Oh, no, I'm talking about the people who made it. I'm talking about the people who made it had to keep all this stuff straight.
Right. But the way that it's parsed out is that it starts off that way, and then it happens concurrent with the events that have already happened as we've seen them in Yakuza Like a Dragon. So it covers what Kiryu was doing from the time at the end of 6 through the events of 7 and the Judgment games, because those are kind of concurrent, or at least the first one is. And leading up to the end of Like a Dragon, because that carries into what happens in Infinite Wealth. So it's sort of a interweaving of all of these different things that have happened.
They're filling in they're filling in their own gaps, basically, it sounds like.
Yes, it is. And it's really good. You could get through the story in about 15 hours if you were just going through the main story and not really doing much of the side stuff, but
yeah,
I'm taking my time with it.
I've heard it's a much smaller game than like
Yes.
a Dragon or anything. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's intentional because they made this, if you could believe this, they actually made the game in 6 months.
What?
Yeah. They had most of the assets, to be fair.
That's from Like a Dragon, I guess. Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, it takes place, it starts off in running around a little bit of Kabukicho, or Kamurocho as it's called in the game. Running around that side of Tokyo. And then you go to Yokohama for a bit. And then you go to Osaka. So you're in Sotenbori, the place where the arena was in Like a Dragon. That arena tower of 30 floors.
Yeah.
So that's where the majority of the story takes place, is in Osaka.
Oh, okay.
So it's all those environments have existed before in the previous game. So they didn't really have to redo any of that, aside from just kind of tweaking things they wanted to put in here or there, or adding in stores where there weren't ones, that sort of thing. But the brawler combat's pretty good. Even I'm enjoying it, and I don't typically like the brawler combat.
Yeah, I someone told me the other day, because I was looking for a game to follow up Cyberpunk and like this open world kind of run around and do stuff, and someone suggested Sleeping Dogs, which is kind of similar to the Yakuza games, but it's got that brawler combat that I'm terrible at, so I'm like,
You can always turn it down. I mean, you could try the Judgment games. There's the brawler combat in that, I would say, is probably pinnacle of the series, aside from maybe Yakuza 0. But I'd say it's on par with Zero's brawler combat, which is, considering when they made it, was made after 4, if I'm not mistaken. So they had a lot of the finer points down, I should say. And with the Judgment games, you have the detective aspect, which is really, really strong with it. And you make friends with cats.
Wait, what?
No, literally. In Lost Judgment, you find little groups of cats. You give them a name. When one of them comes up to you, you give them a name. And when you return to that group of cats, you have to make sure the cat that comes up to you, you call it by the same name. Otherwise, they get upset and lose reputation with it. You gain enough reputation with the cats, and they give you gifts. They'll even show up in your detective office and give you gifts if every once in a while they'll drop gifts on you. And it's a whole mini game just to make friends with cats.
If I can interject here for a moment, somebody who is a neophyte when it comes to the Yakuza games, but I've watched Spaz play for a lot of hours, and I kind of miss when he played those games online. But now, granted, I have been to Japan and Tokyo twice, but it wasn't until I recently found somebody who does 4K walking tours of Tokyo. I watched a few of these in my off hours, and I said, wow, this is like, at first I thought, wow, this is just like the Yakuza games. It's like they built Tokyo to be like the Yakuza games.
And here's the thing. Here's the thing. With Kamurocho, the district in the game, that's the main district in Tokyo that gets featured. It's based off of the actual district of Kabukicho. So a lot of the landmarks look the same because they are. It's just renamed so that it's not technically the same. They did the same thing with Osaka.
This guy was walking through the outskirts of Tokyo in some places. I said, this looks exactly like it did in the last Yakuza game that you played. And that and having lived in Korea for a year and a half, the cleanliness of the city, just how immaculately clean it is, just astounds me.
Was that the channel called Rambolak?
No, this is just something called 4K Japan.
Oh, okay. Rambolak also does those kind of walking around 4K in Japan sort of things. So yeah, that's why I was wondering. That's not the only thing I've been playing, though. I've been playing a lot of that, but I've also been playing a lot of Star Ocean: The Second Story R, which is a remake of Star Ocean: The Second Story from the PS1. And it's actually my game of the year so far.
Whoa, really?
Yeah. Yeah, it is that good. It's taking one of my favorite JRPGs from that era, and it gives it that 2D HD treatment, which is the backgrounds are HD, but you have the sprites overlapping it.
Oh.
So you have the original sprite work from the PS1 era for the characters, and that you see them in those sprites running around on these HD backgrounds, which are just beautiful to look at.
Ooh.
And then they took the combat, they tweaked it a little bit, added some stuff like fast travel. They did so many quality of life things to make it better. And they didn't really take anything away that needed to be taken away. So that's how you do a really, really good remaster. You take the original, you add on top of it, you add quality of life stuff to make it more accessible and approachable. And there you have it. And that's exactly what they did here.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I recommend it very highly. Even if you're not a JRPG fan, because there's a sci-fi aspect to it where you're depending on which of the two protagonists you play as. You have them both in your party, but you can choose which protagonist you play as. One comes from a galactic federation. Yes, it's very Star Trek inspired, but that's kind of not surprising because the previous game in the series, which was originally on the SNES of all things, was also highly Star Trek inspired, and they just carried that over. Yeah.
Not a bad thing necessarily. It's something inspired by Star Trek.
No, it's not. Yeah, if you're going to take inspiration, take it from the best, right?
Exactly.
But the other protagonist is a kind of a magic using fantasy style healer as the other protagonist. And then they go on a huge quest. I mean, this is dozens of hours you can have in there, and there are many endings depending on who you get in your party, because you can, depending on your protagonist, you have a certain pool of characters that you can recruit that the other cannot recruit. So you're encouraged to play it more than once through in order to get everyone in your party.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it's meant to be replayed. There's even a new game plus option, so that it really leads into that.
Oh, okay. That's cool.
And as I mentioned, I've been playing Last Train Home.
Yeah,
good.
That looks interesting. So it's kind of like an RTS, but with commando style combat.
Yeah, I describe it as having the base building of XCOM, because you're building out your train and upgrading it, maintaining your squad, because you can have more than one in the field at one time. With commando style combat, the Company of Heroes cover system, and it is real time with pause.
Oh, that's good. I appreciate that.
But it is a game that will punish you severely if you don't use everything available to you. So I cannot recommend it to you, Brian.
No, I should not play that game. It looks fascinating, but I know I'd be terrible at it.
Sounds very me, actually.
Yeah, it does sound much more like you than me.
Yeah, and it turns out that the developers had worked on the Arma games. The lead at that studio was a project lead on Arma 3.
Oh. I wonder if that explains what's going on with Arma lately.
Lately?
So that was something mentioned on our Discord. Yeah, if you check the new games and deals.
Well, no, because Arma just released that Reforger thing. They just released that in 1.0, but apparently a lot of people are saying it is not 1.0.
No, it's. I don't think they're related at all, because it would have been a couple of years,
Right.
for the development of this game. You know.
Right. No, I was just wondering because apparently the Arma folks are like making some stumbles, and I'm wondering if some people leaving to do their own thing as a result is what I'm saying. Anyway, I'm probably rambling. Oh shit. Anyway, yeah. So that game looks great, but yeah, I'm not gonna play it because it sounds like I would fuck it up. Excuse my language, but I would just lose all the time. That's no fun. You don't want to lose all the time.
It's one of those where if you don't use all the tools available to you, you're going to fail.
And
that's kind of the reason why I can't recommend it to you, because
I'm notorious for not using.
Yeah, you don't use all the tools available to you, and that causes problems.
Just look at my Far Cry 2 playthrough for a great example.
Or our co-op.
Or our co-op. I still think Far Cry 2 is probably the best example because, like, oh yeah, I've got grenades. Oh yeah, I've got grenades. I should use those once in a while. Some combat encounters would have gone very differently had I used grenades.
or
well.
use smoke to smoke grenades to your advantage in order to flank the enemy, that sort of thing. In
By
other
the way-
games, yeah.
By the way, speaking of Far Cry 2, Spaz, can you put that video you found yesterday in the stream chat? Because that is... I laughed at that for a good 20 minutes. Friends, if you're not sure what we're talking about, someone made a video of like weapon jams from Far Cry 2, but with random objects. And I swear to you, if you've played any Far Cry 2, it is maybe the funniest thing you'll see in a while. Oh my god!
Yeah, this is it's Commander Carl, who a lot of people will already know, even if they aren't people who normally listen to our podcast, because he makes all sorts of reload videos and they're reload videos with household objects.
Yeah, that might have been the first one I'd seen, honestly. And oh my god, I was absolutely dying. Like, I shared it everywhere, dude, because oh my god, like anyone who's played Far Cry 2 will find that the funniest goddamn thing. I'm laughing just thinking about it. It's so fucking funny.
Oh yeah, Carl is great.
Oh, yeah, I gotta watch more of his videos. I think that, like I said, I think that might have been the first one. So, Thorsten, I'm going to call you out specifically because we missed you for a while. So, how are you doing?
Much better. I would even say I'm nearly back to normal.
Oh, good.
Yeah, that's really great. Okay, I don't want to talk about it.
No, of course not. I'm just asking how you're doing. You don't have to go into specifics.
Yeah, and I was in a very, very difficult situation, to put it mildly, and gladly I'm back to normal again.
Oh, good.
More or less. Yes.
Oh, good.
Ask me. It was really difficult, but now again it's gladly back to normal again, and well, playing any games in this time was pretty difficult because of time constraints, and having not internet for quite a few weeks wasn't great either. And I noticed that a lot of games can't be played without any internet connection.
Yeah, that's got to be now that you're back, we got to do that topic of offline games. Like, if your internet goes down, what should you have on hand? We got to do that topic. Maybe that'll be.
Yeah, we should really do it, because I had some very bad surprises.
Oh god.
Yeah. Again, that wasn't great. I really thought many games didn't need any connection, and it turned out that they needed. And I was a bit unhappy about that. On the other hand, I replayed a lot Star Traders Frontiers again. This time on a mobile device, which was pretty interesting. I really have to say, the game is very playable on a tablet.
Oh, that's good.
It's really great. It's really fun. The UI works pretty good. And when I got back online again, a bit uncommon for me was to return to two adventures that came out recently. First is The Invincible, which is great.
Wait, which one?
The Invincible.
The Invincible.
Oh, didn't I stream that a couple of weeks ago?
You did?
Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You did. And
Yeah.
I like that one very much. It's wait.
Oh. What happened?
Just damn! I reposted the wrong link. I'll be back.
Whoa. Technical difficulties, my friends.
Yeah, happens sometimes.
You're right there.
Oh,
there it
yeah,
is.
right there. There it is. Yes, and I like that one very, very much. I mean, I mentioned that quite a few times now, but I generally don't like adventures. But this one is pretty different, and it keeps very, very well in the frame of story by Stanislav Lem, who wrote the original novel.
Yes, honestly, that's the main reason why I haven't played the game yet, because I got all of it spoiled for me by reading the book.
No, Jacob, you actually don't have to. The book follows a different story.
Really?
Oh.
Yes, there are still surprises here.
So is this kind of a side story to the book?
Yeah, but you could call it so. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Basically,
Okay, that is good, because I was worried. All right, the whole. Here's the thing: the Invincible is largely a mystery story, and as a consequence, I felt like the game would be a lot worse if you just know about what happens. But if I don't, then sure, I'll check it out.
yeah, I don't want to spoil too much. I mean, there are a few cross sections, but there are also enough differences to the book.
Oh, that's good.
It's. I mean, it was quite a while since I last read the book. It was at least two. It was at least 2 decades ago. Maybe even 3, but for what I remember, it doesn't follow the story of the novel, to be honest.
That's pretty smart. That's pretty smart, actually, because you don't want to have people who have read the book like Jacob just like not play your game because you know what you think you know is going to happen. So that's pretty smart, actually.
Yeah, that's actually something I wanted to mention, because some people I've talked to who have read the book actually wanted to play the game because they didn't want to replace the book, and that's not really true. It's a lot of difference.
Oh, that's good.
Stories.
That's good.
And the other game I've played recently is a game called Return to Grace, which is pretty similar.
Return to Grace.
Wait a moment, I link it.
I don't think I've heard of that one. Yeah, I don't think I've heard of that one. It's another adventure game.
Okay, I'm double posting today.
No worries.
One moment.
No worries. Copy pasting. Like I posted a meme the other day where it's that meme where it's like the top panel is don't do this and the bottom panel is this is what you do. Like yeah, I when I copy something I hit Control C like 80 times.
Yeah, that's actually the same thing I that happened to me currently, because I forgot it. Let's put it that way. Return to Grace is pretty similar, but with a different story to The Invincible, and
Right.
it's to an adventure, and it's pretty well done. The only drawbacks by both games, so I haven't played them through both, is that they are pretty short. I think I've seen a video from Return to Grace by someone speedrunning it, and it took about 2.5 or 3 hours.
Oh wow!
Or something like that.
I mean, if it's a good story, like that's a movie. That's the length of a movie. If it's a good story, I don't mind a short game if it's a good story. If they do their job telling their story well, I guess it also depends on what they're asking for. Like if you're asking $60 for a 2-hour game, that's a problem.
Yeah, I mean, Return to Grace has a price tag of $50, and I've played it already longer than most cinema movies.
I mean,
have select stuff, yeah, and I mean that's okay in that regard.
yeah, I mean, a speed run is 2 hours, but if you're taking your time, it's probably a lot. Like I guess the recent game I played like that was Star Trek Resurgence, which I guess if you sped run could be only a couple of hours, but why would you do that?
It would probably be about a dozen hours, I'd say, if you
Well-
sped run it, because there's only so much you can do with Resurgence.
You think so? That's still not bad then. I know more and more people are buying Resurgence, which is good. Like it took some convincing. Like, no, guys, it's a good Star Trek game, really. I know.
I really liked it.
I know it's been a while, but it's actually a good one, guys.
The ones that I want to get into on the holidays is probably the Expanse Telltale game.
I don't see anyone talking about that one, which is interesting. Like, because I know a lot of fans of The Expanse, but I don't know if I know anyone who's actually playing. That one.
There are quite a few videos out there, and but I've stopped watching it because I didn't.
You don't want to be
get
spoiled.
too much. We are going to ride.
Is that one follow the books of the show also, or is it also more of like a side story?
It's a side story.
Oh, good.
It's a side story
Okay, good.
with drama as main character, and that I won't say more about it.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Yeah,
All right.
well, that's pretty interesting too. From what I've seen so far.
I'll have to check it out at some point because I haven't finished the show, but I did finish all the books. And the books are fantastic.
Yeah, especially the ending of the last book.
Oh, God.
That was quite surprising.
A gut punch. A real, in a kind of a good way, but still a gut punch.
Yeah.
Still a gut punch. If you haven't read The Expanse, folks, my friends, the book series, it's really fantastic science fiction. Absolutely fun. The show mostly does it justice from what I've seen. I have to finish the show. But the books are absolutely fantastic.
I can tell you for certain, having watched it all, and I now own it on Blu-ray because they released a box set with all 6 seasons. Yeah, it holds up very well.
That's
And
good.
It's good.
I should get back into it.
Highly.
I petered out on the Planet season because that's also my least favorite of the books. But I should get back into it. I know I should.
There probably won't be more of the show.
Well, I can't imagine they would because there's time.
no way they could.
Yeah, there's a time jump, and
Right.
the special effects alone that they'd have to do.
Yeah, let's just say because of the time skip, there won't be any more. It doesn't make sense that they would do it that way.
Yeah, spoiler, there's a time skip in the books, you guys. That's all we'll say.
I don't know how they could pull it off. To be honest,
I mean, they'd have to do it in they'd have
very
to
difficult. Yeah,
they'd have to if all the actors were alive, they'd have to do it in 30 years. And maybe special effects would catch up by then. I think it's the only way they could do it.
Well, I can tell you for certain, there's no way in hell they'll get Cass Anvar back. Because they don't want him back.
Yeah. Yeah, he's the guy
For
that...
those who don't know, yeah, he played Alex.
Yeah.
And because he had multiple accusations of sexual assault, they wrote him out of the show.
Oh, really?
They wrote his character out of the show.
Oh, shit. I mean, that's tough because he was pretty big in the books.
They changed it. I'll say without spoiling how, I will say they changed it so that one character who would have passed away ended up being Alex instead.
Oh. Well, okay. Okay.
Considering they needed to write him out of the show, the best way to do it was to kill off the character.
Yeah,
And I
damn.
know that they they did it with the author's support because, yeah.
Yeah. How do
They
you?
needed to get rid of him, so...
Damn. I didn't know all that. Shit. I think I forgot about it. Oh, man. So yeah, I want to play the Telltale game too. Now that I've played a Telltale style game and know what to expect about the quote unquote gameplay,
Well, it's still gameplay. It may not be to your taste, but it's still gameplay.
yeah, it's still gameplay, I guess.
By the strictest definition of the word gameplay,
I
yes.
mean, it's loose. It's loose.
I would say it is the way they work it in is thematic.
Yeah, that's fair.
It's not the kind of compelling gameplay you'd expect or want necessarily, but it's still gameplay and it's still thematic.
It was just really jarring the first time. Like, oh, what is this?
Because you've never played a game
I'd never
like that.
played a game like that before. That's why it was jarring. I was not expecting that at all. But once I'm like, oh, okay, it's a movie with some interactive bits. All right, there we go. That made it a lot more fun. We're over an hour now, and we haven't gotten to Jacob or David. Do you guys want to chime in with anything? I'm not going to pressure you. You don't have to if you don't feel like it.
I mean, I don't really have much to report on. I've been as far as gaming goes, I've mostly been replaying a lot of older stuff. I got back into the older historical Total War games because they're really good.
Yeah.
Whoa.
I know a lot of people consider, I think, Medieval 2 to be the best of them, from what I understand.
Yes, nominally depends on your personal preferences and which era of history and which flavor of historically flavored murder you prefer. For me, it's Shogun 2 because it's just really good.
Yeah, Shogun 2 is probably my favorite also.
It's really good.
Yeah.
Especially Fall of the Samurai, because Fall of the Samurai is just brilliant.
Just fucking, so, like, why can't, that's the only time they did that. Like, let's make this tight, focused, amazing thing and never do it again. Like, what the?
Yeah, I don't know why they stopped.
What the hell, Creative Assembly?
I keep trying to get into Total War Warhammer. I even like the setting, but I just can't.
I can't either.
Wrangle my way into it.
I can't either. But Fall of the Samurai, just this tight focus, and I think they've tried to make a couple other tight focus games, but they just didn't work as well as Fall of the Samurai.
I did also finally try out Three Kingdoms, which was a lot better than I expected it to be, and I feel like the game is kind of weirdly underrated.
I think it is completely underrated.
Oh, that's good to hear, because I had that one on my list.
Yeah, it is very much underrated, especially if you like that era.
Yes, which admittedly not very popular, but in pop history, but it is very fun.
I do know some people who consider that probably the best of the modern Total Wars.
I don't blame them.
Even better than Warhammer. I love Warhammer, but it's too much. It's just too.
I think it's better than Warhammer, like 100%. But that's because Warhammer for me.
I would say, I would say.
Carry on.
I would say.
See, the problem with Warhammer. Yes, the thing about Warhammer is it has too much stuff going on for it, while also simultaneously trying to equalize everything. And it just ends up being kind of a mess because every faction plays completely differently, but also every faction starts roughly the same with like a single province that you have to build out from, which doesn't really gel. It makes campaigns feel very exhausting, and it makes certain factions feel worse than others because inevitably people will end up with different preferences.
It's kind of weird, if I may say, because the Total War games, like, they do this thing that I like with certain RTS games where you have the meta map, and you do stuff on the map, and then you go into the region, you have your RTS battle in the region. And I don't know why, like, I think some games like Dawn of War, what was the Dawn of War that did that? Dark Horizon?
What?
There was a Dawn of War game.
Dark Crusade.
Dark Crusade, thank you. That had a meta map that was an amazing, like probably one of the best versions of that.
Dark Crusade and Soulstone, though Soulstone's one was arguably worse, but
not as good. Opinion. But like, so it's weird that like you'd think a game that kind of apes that, like the Total War games do, would do a better job of it. But like, I keep wanting to go back to things like Battle for Middle-earth 2 and Dark Crusade, because I think they did a better job of that sort of mix of overworld turn-based and tactical real-time stuff. Honestly, I think they did a better
honestly
job.
Agree.
So it's just weird that Creative Assembly, which is what they're like known for, kind of keeps stepping over themselves.
And Rise of Nations kind of did that with
Rise of Nations did.
Conquer-
And
Conquer the World map.
and Emperor Battle for Dune
Emperor Battle for Dune
also
Yes.
did that very well. Very, very well. So yeah, there's some games that mix the turn-based and the real-time strategy thing really well, and then you have Total War that it's like they keep tripping over their own feet. I don't get it.
And
Because
sometimes they do it really well, and sometimes
Yes.
not so much.
Yeah.
But also there's stuff. The main issue is their only competition is themselves, partly.
That's true.
So they feel like they can just do whatever and it'll be good enough, and it isn't good enough usually. Because
Show
the
of
thing
hands.
is,
How many of us played Troy Total War?
I did not.
Exactly.
crickets.
I actually played a tiny bit of it, but I didn't.
Was
get
it
very
any
far into
good?
I've heard no. I've heard not.
it. No, I wasn't very impressed with it. I liked what they
Got
wanted to do with it, but the setting anyway. I like that setting, but no,
Got it. Because
it just pales in comparison.
yeah, because like there's Troy, there's Britannia, and there's Pharaoh that came out recently, and they're all okay at best.
Well, it's why they call them a Total War story, because it's more
Well,
focused.
no, it's a
and
saga
all
game.
Or
Yeah,
They're
saga.
not good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wasn't there a Genghis Khan one that came out a few years ago that people liked?
No, there was Attila.
Attila, thank you. That was the one I was.
There
trying
was
to
a
think of.
Total War Attila, which was a half expansion for Rome 2. That one was actually good.
Yeah, fully agree.
Yeah, I should get back. I should try that one. I think I own
That
it
one is
somewhere.
kind of like what Fall of the Samurai did for Shogun.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
Attila,
Oh, okay.
Attila is very good.
Oh, okay. That's
And
good.
I really love the African factions from the DLCs.
I have to say, I think my best, if I may have an offshoot here for a second, my favorite Total War experience, there was a Middle Earth mod for Medieval 2.
I know which one you're talking about. And it's really good.
Third Age, I think it's called. That's probably the best Total War experience I've had, is that mod. It's really, really good. Really good. So, all right. And how's school going? Let me just ask that real quick. How's school going?
Me?
Yeah, you.
I'm surviving mostly, having to put together my diploma paper. It's painful.
Oh, are you that close?
No.
Oh.
As in, I was supposed to write it for an entire year.
Oh.
It's one of those things that the university strongly encourages you not to leave for last minute. So I'm trying my best not to. I'm not used to it.
I gotcha. Yeah, the two of you that are students, I don't envy you at all. I really don't.
Sorry.
And I guess rolling into that, David, how you doing? We'll finish up with you real quick. How you doing?
Oh, it's been school. I'm entering the last course for the year, and then on the spring I'm supposed to go out on an internship somewhere for 3 months, and that's on me. Actually,
Is that the last bit? Is that the final bit before you graduate, or is there more
Yes.
after that? Oh, that's
the final bit.
Oh, wow, awesome.
And the problem is trying to find somewhere to get some internship, and it's harder than I actually believed. So yeah, I'm still working on it. Although I had a pretty good talk with one of the electronic stores today, so I'm hoping to get back a phone call on Friday,
Oh, nice.
because the one responsible for the IT department is gonna call back. Then I hope.
Oh, good. I hope that works
As
out.
for gaming, I've been jumping back into. I've been revisiting some of the Ascent with Luke and Julie in passing. I've also been playing some Astroneer. There's been a bunch of changes to Astroneer, which I wasn't aware of. Like there's an actual quest log where you can do a bunch of stuff and unlock fancy new things. There's even pet snails you can unlock.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you can build like small terrariums and collect alien snails, which are super cute. It's kind of ridiculous how cute they are. And they sing.
What?
Yes, they sing.
They do.
Aw, that's really cute.
And something that has been sticking out a little bit when it comes to gaming here is something I've been talking about with Spaz and past that I have wanted to find something in the bullet heaven genre that's first person. There is one of those right now, and it's going to be Vampire Hunters.
Wait, Vampire
I messed up
Hunters?
the link. Yeah, it's very similar in Vampire Survivors, the name.
Oh,
So,
but it's a first-person shooter?
yes, it's the first.
Oh, it's the game with a frankly silly number of guns.
Yes,
Well, it's one of them.
yes,
Well,
yes.
It's the game with the silly number of guns you can use simultaneously.
Yeah, and I've been following this game and see how it develops because
Is this a
I've been
mecha
interested-
game?
No. It's semi-fantasy, Victorian era or something like that.
God,
It's
it
very steampunk.
looks like a mecha game in a kind of aesthetic sense.
Well,
Oh, just thinking of a game like Mother Gunship, which is very. I mean,
Yes.
you're literally in a mech suit. So yeah.
Yeah. I would more compare like how gameplay works here to that. But when the game was released, you basically just walked down a corridor and shot at everything that was running towards you, and then it had like a weird fog that's gonna kill you if you were caught up to it. So it took some months, I believe, and then the developer added the proper survivors mode. Maybe you see that on the thumbnail there, where you actually have a map you can freely walk around in. And I have my issues when it comes to balance and time to kill and stuff. It's not. It doesn't feel right so far, but I like the idea.
so you have played it, or you've just watched people play it?
I have it.
Okay.
I did play it when it was that corridor shooter gameplay loop, and then they have added the survivors mode. Oh, I need to revisit this then. And yeah, it's more interesting, but it still needs work.
Okay. I have a copy of it for some reason, probably because someone sent me a key or something. So I will add it. I will move it up the list a little bit. To cover
Yeah,
it.
so developer, if you hear it, keep up the good work. It looks like you have an idea, but yeah, it needs some polishing.
So many games need polishing.
Oh yeah.
Well, we're well over an hour. We should probably wrap up. Was that it, David?
I guess so. Yeah, I would say so.
Oh, okay. All right. I mean, did you have something else? I don't want to cut you off if you had something else you wanted to talk about.
Nah, I think I'm good. It's pretty good to call it, I think.
Okay. That's good.
Let me just
Oh.
before we wrap up, let me toss this out there. There is a great JRPG bundle that is on Humble right now. It includes the excellent Symphony of War, which I have 200 hours in. It's an excellent game. I can't recommend it highly enough. And
Can only agree.
yeah, it's so good. So I've linked that in the chat. So pick that up if you like JRPGs. You will not be disappointed.
Oh, there's a lot of stuff in that bundle. I know people who have talked about Edge of Eternity that really liked it. Oh yeah, that's a good bundle.
stuff.
That's a good looking bundle. All right, friends, that's going to do it for today. Next week, I think we'll do that offline gaming thing that we talked about, Thorsten. I like that idea for a topic. I think we'll do that next week. I think that's a fun idea
Switch.
for a topic.
Okay.
Buy a Switch. Not always the case. I've got some games on the Switch that are online only, like Diablo 3, for example. So the Switch won't get you. I mean, the Switch is great, but there's some games on the damn thing that require an internet. There's like a racing game that's like Trackmania that requires an online connection. So the Switch won't get you out of that entirely, but it is a good idea. Or I guess a Steam Deck, if you have one of those things. So that's what we're going to talk about next week. And then, God, what are we playing tomorrow? Proto-Planet Express. I don't know what that is. We'll figure it out. But have a great day, everyone. Be safe, be well, take care of each other. Please get vaccinated if you haven't already. Can't believe I have to keep saying this. Almost 4 years into a goddamn... How long did the 1918 pandemic last? Was that 4 years? 5 years? How long did that one last?
Which phase?
Oh,
there was
God.
more than one phase.
God damn it.
So what we're gathering from this is it's gonna be a while.
The first one lasted. I talked to somebody whose mother had lived through it, and she said the whole thing lasted, at least where she was 8 years.
Okay, so maybe we're halfway through. Oh, God. All right, so please get vaccinated if you haven't already. My God. And get your flu shots if you haven't already. And we'll see you back here tomorrow. Have a great one, everyone. And take